shadows were projected by a lamp on the white screen. So very much like your tradition. And then, so, Filipino playwright
adalah menceritakan tentang latar belakang sejarah musik Filipina. Di Filipina itu seperti juga Indonesia, terdiri dari kepulauan yang memiliki beragam dan berbeda jenis musik, bahasa, dan tradisinya. Dan itu merupakan kekayaan mereka. Namun juga dengan pengaruh kolonial dari Spanyol, Amerika, dan Jepang menemukan satu pengaruh yang menyatu dengan juga musik tradisinya, sehingga ada yang musik semacam hybrid atau local music. Nah, inilah yang merupakan keunikan dan itu menjadi ciri mereka, budaya mereka. Dan saya waktu di sana itu mendengar yang disebut taglis. Mereka menggabungkan bahasa Tagalog dan Inggris, disebutnya taglis.
Good morning. Salamat pagi. Yes. Before we start, I'd like for you to stand and breathe a while because some of you are getting sleepy. So probably you can stand and do it. Or yeah, you can do it sitting. Seated. Yeah. You can do it seated.
Sambil duduk. Gua nggak hamil.
I think you're awake. It's actually one of the exercises we use in brain gym for children. It stimulates the left and the right brain because you use the dichotomy of the left and the right hands. Okay, thank you, Professor Nakera, and thank you, Dr. Juju, for the historical framework. Now, I'm here to discuss and show you some more pictures. But before I show you my presentation, this presentation can be made available via Mom Juju. So there is a file, and the sound clips are also there, so you can use it in your classroom. I'm sorry you couldn't bring so many instruments, so probably next time we'll send you instruments. Okay, so let's start. Music education in the Philippines, first slide. There are 3 types. First is informal education, where you learn from a family member, from a friend, or from your community elders. And there's also non-formal, wherein you learn in a studio. Let's say you want to learn piano, you want to learn voice, you want to learn violin, you go to a studio, and that's called non-formal. And there's also formal education. So those are the 3 types. Next slide, please. Informal music education, we actually had it before we were colonized. These are the kalinga of northern Luzon. The instruments, there's a certain pedagogy to it. You just don't learn the gong. In the Philippines, we have gongs and bamboo instruments, just like yourselves. But the difference is that the northern gongs, the ones that come from this region, Cordillera, they're flat because of Chinese influence. And the southern gongs from Mindanao, they have a boss, just like your gamelan. So you can see that both China and Indonesia influenced our types of instruments. But before the children learn to play the gongs, they are taught several bamboo instruments in preparation to play the gongs. So I don't know if you have the same system. In the south, we also have smaller gongs. We call them saronai, before they play the big gongs. So you can see the instruments grow with the children. The smaller children have smaller instruments. So what we have here are the patete or the bamboo xylophone blades. They play that first because the first movement of a child is not clapping. So when you teach music to a child, for example, beat, and you ask him to clap, it's not the most natural movement. The most natural movement for the child is to walk. First to run and then to walk. Therefore, what we learn from our indigenous Filipino pedagogy is that the first movement is this. So you have a xylophone and a stick, which we will do in the workshop. So we brought these instruments and we'll teach you how to play them. So that they really know, no? Even without all of these educational theories, they know that the first movement is always up, down, and like not left, right. So that's the first instrument. They play the patete first. So you can see the children. So after they learn all the bamboo instruments, they now learn the gongs. So that's the pedagogy of the Kalika. Informally, they learn it, it's like, oh, we're harvesting rice, let's play tomato. Or let's play the patete. And then when they grow up, they learn the danza. Next slide. Maranaos of Mindanao, they have what we call the apprenticeship system. A female teacher, and then the name for the student is Morik. The Morik lives in the house of the teacher and does the household chores. So you clean the house, you cook the rice for your teacher. And we call that the Kasumbak system. It's an apprenticeship system. Why is that? She went to the university, she had a time teaching Kulitang to Western trained Filipino students because we were asking for notation by imitation. And what she did was she invented a cipher notation for the gongs. But you see, we're not so good at improvisation. Why? Because we don't have the kasama. You can only learn improvisation if you live with your teacher or before the performance. And the kids from grades 5 school are required to study it. Of course, we have private studios. Next. Violin, flute, and angklung and recorder. Next. When Western instruments were not available, Filipinos were very creative. We substituted bamboo so that we have a bamboo organ. That's the bamboo organ. Also, we have bumbong. We call it musikong bumbong. What is that? You have angklung, but you also have bamboo knit instruments. So it's you cannot afford the brass instruments, so you make them out of bamboo. And right now, we were able to get grants from Japan, actually, to develop these grassroots projects in several schools all over the Philippines. So we call it Musikong Bumbong. Those are the Musikong Bumbong in Bulacan and Cavite. There are towns in Luzon. There were also a lot of books, but they were mainly edited by Americans. That's why the first books were not so contextual. They were Filipino songs translated to English, which is really not the way to go. You have there a Thomasite teacher, so this is already formal music education, a teacher, a rondalia, and several of the students. I think this is after a performance. The next slide. So the American teachers, this is a Thomasite in Benguet, Northern Luzon. Next slide. In our country, there is a music law. It was in our legislation, music is required to be taught.
Salah seorang expert dalam bidang yang mengembangkan pendidikan musik tradisional. Nah, perkembangan sekarang itu lebih kepada multikultural. Jadi beberapa musik dari Afrika, dari Cina, dari yang masyarakat yang ada di sana itu juga dikemas, dikembangkan. Hanya masalahnya sekarang